Jayatimirandasya Yanandana Shakshmavitamina Tasmai Shikudeva Shri Chaitanya Stapitam Hi Bhutale Swayam Papadamya Purati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I will again speak in English. I don't know who wer versteht nicht so gut Englisch, die können wir übersetzen. Ich weiß nicht, wer da ein guter Übersetzer ist. Wer übersetzt?
Ich kann es machen. Ja?
Ja?
Wer braucht den Übersetzer?
I'm reading a book that you don't have. She will hear it. I'll do it. The cow of my senses. Cow of my senses. Who yearns to hear the narration of the Lord's pastimes in Gokul. Has become very unhappy by wandering in the desert of my voice. I pray the merciful saintly devotees may lead that cow to the oasis of my ears and there feed her the nectar of Lord Krishna's pastimes. I'll read it again. I know it was a little complicated. The cow of my senses who yearns to hear the narration of the Lord's pastimes in Gokul has become very unhappy by wandering in the desert of my voice. I pray the merciful saintly devotees may lead that cow to the oasis of my ears and there feed her the nectar of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Govinda Lilamrita 1:9. He is the king of poets, as we know Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, who very poetically describes the senses like a cow, very eager to hear the pastimes of Krishna. But that cow has been wandering in the desert of the voice, of my voice. Endless dry things are coming from my voice. And therefore, that cow of my senses is not satisfied. I pray the merciful saintly devotees may lead that cow to the oasis of my ears and there feed her the nectar of Lord Krishna's pastimes. The ears are an oasis in the desert. Many devotees lead there to sit down and to hear some Krishna Katha, because that's what devotees do. And then feed the nectar of Lord Krishna's pastimes. I Unfortunately, I don't know the Sanskrit of this verse, but anyway, it's so, the translation is so nice that I couldn't resist it. To just speak about Krishna is so rare. We just, how often we actually do that, I don't know. How often do we speak about people and about the world and about so many other things, but not about Krishna. So a little bit about Krishna. Let me think then what to say about Krishna. So since I'll continue then with Srila Rupa Goswami, who says in the opening verse of the Vidakta Madhava, he said, may the pastimes. Yeah, it's not very good, huh? Too much everything. Too much and not enough. Krishna. No, I don't know. Maybe is it better? I don't know. I'm straining my voice. See, if it was louder, I could have it here. That would be great. Then I wouldn't have to get so close. Yeah. So Krishna says, Rupa Goswami says, may the pastimes of Lord Krishna reduce the miseries in this world. So that is another understanding of that topic, of hearing about Krishna. By hearing about Krishna, automatically all the miseries of this world are being reduced. So how is that? Because the miseries of the world don't go away. They do go away from the center of our consciousness, and then they are reduced. So Krishna then is appearing in so many forms. Krishna appears in unlimited avatars, and in each of these forms Krishna is trying to, it is said, reclaim those who are in the mode of pure goodness. So the Bhagavatam is stating, when the question is asked by the sages of Naimisaranya, what is the purpose of all the incarnations of the Lord? Then it says, to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. But who is in the mode of pure goodness? So therefore, although we are inspired by all the incarnations of the Lord, still it's not enough for us, because we are not in pure goodness. Therefore, we begin with the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we'll hear something from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because after all, we depend on that mercy. That's how I always wind up again with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because sooner or later I'm just realizing that, well, I'm not qualified, I'm not going to make it. Kshananicha kshaninate, kshanabahutala, kshanayodyoda lampade dekibala. One moment he danced, one moment he bowed down, one moment he clapped his hands, one moment he jumped wonderfully with his feet together. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that actually the literal translation of that verse is, he says, the word bahutala refers to the sound made by wrestlers as they slap their arms in the wrestling arena. The phrase yoda lampa means jumping with one's legs together. Another reading for this phrase is goda lampa, which means jumping like a horse. Seeing his amazing ecstatic madness in love of Krishna, Gaurachandra and all the Vaishnavas began to cry. His happiness constantly increased. Although they tried to hold him still, they were unable. When all the Vaishnavas failed to hold him still, Vishwambara personally took him in his arms. As soon as Nityananda was taken on Vishwambara's lap, he surrendered his life to the Lord and became motionless. Nityananda surrendered his life to whom it belonged and remained inert in the Lord's lap. Nityananda floated in the waters of Lord Chaitanya's love, just as Lakshman remained in the lap of Ramachandra after being hit by the Shakti Shela arrow. Nityananda lost consciousness due to being hit by the arrow of ecstatic love. Holding Nityananda on his lap, Gaurachandra began to cry. The exchange of happiness that the two enjoyed was similar to what is heard of between Rama and Lakshman. There's no comparison to the affection between Gaurachandra and Nityananda, other than which is found between Rama and Lakshman. After some time, Nityananda regains his external consciousness, and all the devotees chanted the name of Hare. When Gadadhar saw Nityananda on the lap of Vishwambara, he was surprised by the reversal of roles and smiled within. The pride of Ananta, who constantly holds Vishwambara, is smashed today by being held in the Lord's lap. Gadadhar knows the glories of Nityananda. Nityananda knows the mind of Gadadhar. While watching Nityananda, the minds of all the devotees became filled with eternal bliss. As Nityananda and Gaurachandra gazed at each other, they did not speak a word as tears flowed from their eyes. They were both filled with happiness on seeing each other. The earth became flooded with their tears. Vishwambara said, "Today is an auspicious day for me, for I've seen devotional service, which is the essence of the four Vedas." Let's read that purport. Devotional service alone is the purport and essence of the four Vedas. The Vedic literature of a certain devotional service is the only essence. When the living entity's full knowledge is awakened, then devotional service, which is his eternal intensity, is aroused. A heart that is filled with the service attitude is qualified to achieve knowledge of the Supreme Lord, and after achieving knowledge, it becomes fixed in the service of the Lord. Sometimes we see how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing that he doesn't know Krishna, he doesn't know Lord Chaitanya, and he is just describing how he doesn't understand the pastimes of the Lord very well. Of course, from what we read, he understands them way beyond our imagination, way beyond. He understands them very clear and very sharp. But anyway, understanding of Krishna comes only from service, because understanding from Krishna comes when Krishna reveals himself, and there's no other way one can know Krishna. One may try to study and try to intellectually conceive of Krishna, but one cannot understand Krishna. Only by devotional service will Krishna reveal himself, then we will know him. So the Chaitanya Bhagavat is the book of, there's a lot of ecstasy in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Right? The devotees are very, very transcendental. And so there's a lot of shivering and tears and loud roaring and rolling on the ground and all these kind of symptoms which we may not see at present in ourselves. And that may be sometimes difficult to understand. Just like that first meeting that is described between Madhavendra Puri and Lord Nityananda. And it said that Madhavendra Puri was an extraordinary devotee. And Madhavendra Puri met Lord Nityananda, and he was, at that time, Madhavendra Puri was traveling alone over the planet. Because Madhavendra Puri was elder to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was his predecessor. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not meet Madhavendra Puri. He only met his disciple, Ishvara Puri. So Madhavendra Puri was roaming around the world, and he was always absorbed in symptoms of love of God. And wherever he went, he never saw anyone who had love of God like he had. So Madhavendra Puri then, one day, saw Nityananda. And when he saw Nityananda, he just became overwhelmed. And the two of them, they saw each other, and they'd never seen anyone with such symptoms of love of God. It said they embraced, and then together they crashed on the ground, and they were rolling on the ground, and like totally beyond themselves. And the disciples of Madhavendra Puri were looking totally amazed at such symptoms. But this is Vaishnavas. And Vaishnavas are seeing each other. It is said actually that when a Vaishnava is seeing another Vaishnava, he must experience joy. It is very joyful to see a Vaishnava. I don't know, in the last few weeks I spoke about this somewhere, about the Vaishnavas being joyful upon seeing another Vaishnava. If there's no joy upon seeing a Vaishnava, then one is envious. When we look at a Vaishnava with the nose, then we are envious. Everyone has some of this envy in the heart. So it's but here we see exchanges that go beyond that. Here we see a level of exchanges that are about immense joy, rolling on the ground, getting completely ecstatic. I mean, wild, beyond any mental or intellectual control. So we see that love of God is coming in different degrees. It said in scriptures, Isparata darine su bhakti se su disatsuja. Bali se su disatsuja. Kripa prema maiti kripa peksha yakaroti samajama. It is said that the Madhyam Adhikari, he has love for the Supreme Lord. He has friendship for the devotees. He has mercy for the innocent and indifference for envious people. So it is interesting to see that the Madhyam Adhikari, the intermediate devotee, has prema, has love for Krishna. It may not be the same love as is described here, but he has love for Krishna. So love for Krishna begins simply by what we call liking Krishna, right? Being attracted to Krishna. And that we have. And then the ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees, that's sort of inconceivable love, something. We just hear about it and we are not experiencing it. So then what to do? But we experience something, some taste, something to carry on, something to keep this connection, whatever it is. And that is ultimately going to fructify. That's going to become very strong, because it is material attachment that takes us away. But material attachment disappears at the end of life. At the end of life, one has to let go of everything. At the time of death, everything just goes. One has to just let it go. One cannot keep it. One cannot keep any connections. Internally also, one comes to a point, let go. So, when a person has deep faith in the material energy, then the sense enjoyment is very strong. If one really believes that this is the source of happiness, then the sense enjoyment is very strong. But when a devotee gives in to sense enjoyment, it's different. It's like stolen moments. Because the full faith is not there. So therefore, it's not so easy to fully enjoy the senses because one doesn't believe in it anymore. So, all due to the attachment to Krishna opens up another dimension. A dimension of the spiritual world. The difficulty is that right now the spiritual world seems too exalted, too far away. That love of God, of the residents of Vrindavan, too high. And that puts us in between the material world and the spiritual world. We're not really part of the material world in the full sense, because we don't believe in it in the same way as a materialist would believe. That places us in between two worlds. But that's okay. I think we just have to have patience, knowing that undoubtedly the spiritual world is where we will be at home. We will not be at home anywhere else, only in the spiritual world. So, those are some of my thoughts when I read Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's, the essence of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is obviously kirtan, sankirtan, chanting Hare Krishna, to chant Hare Krishna again and again. And it is that chanting of Hare Krishna which is also our saving grace. Because there we can just forget about everything. When during kirtan there's no need to consider where we are. We just to consider where we're at in terms of our advancement. We just chant Hare Krishna. When you look at philosophy, it's different. We begin to classify ourselves. But in kirtan, just get absorbed. So that's the main thing in our understanding. Different moods we have. Sometimes we are very enthusiastic, very wild, and then, like now, after all these days of partying, the party is over for a little while. At least I'm glad it's over. It was too much party, if you're asking me. At one point, I'm so happy there's no more party. But then there's another form of Krishna consciousness. It's something more down to earth, maybe more everyday, but blessings, just to somehow or other keep the blessings. That is important. In the beginning, I left Krishna consciousness several times. And the first time I ever left, it was tough. It was in the middle of the winter, and it was my first days in Sankirtan, and it was very rough. And I'd been sitting in the back of an ice-cold fan, and devotees had stolen a shopping cart from a supermarket, and someone said, "Open the door." opened the door of the van and said, "Give the shopping cart," and my finger got caught in the shopping cart. And it hurt, and it especially hurts at -15. So I was blowing on my finger. This devotee says, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I hurt my finger." He says, "You're not the body." So it was like, at least I got warmer. It was -15, but I didn't feel it so much anymore. It warmed me up. But I was still angry after that, in a bad mood. So then they sent me out to this other new bhakta. And this one, he was all the time saying, "Jai, nectar, bliss." Only 3 words. So my finger was hurting, and he says, "Jai, nectar, bliss." So I wanted to say something mean to him. So I said, "Look, it's -15 and you don't have gloves. Do you know you're going to be out the whole day, your hands are going to freeze." Right? He says, "I'm not the body, Prabhu." That was too much. And I was thinking, first a fanatic, and now a madman. And then I realized, these people, I'm not staying with them. No way. No, forget it. So I decided to go. I decided to go. And I left. But as I was deciding to leave, I first had to distribute some books because I had no money. And suddenly I could really distribute books very well. It's like immediately I could distribute 3 books, boom, one after the other, 1, 2, 3. I had enough money for the train. Somehow I got the power. As before, it was very difficult. And then I was thinking, but if I go, then I will eat only boga, because I didn't know the mantras to offer. But that other bhakta, he knew the mantras. He knew the mantras, and I knew that he knew the mantras. So I said, okay, I'm going to go right now, I had enough. And you've got to give me these mantras, right? So that I can offer whatever I eat. He says, "No, I will not give those mantras because you're going into Maya." And I said, "Then you will get the reaction for everything that I eat because I refuse to live with it." So then he gave me the mantra. But I offered everything I ate. Although I was in Maya, I offered everything I ate because I thought, why get unnecessary reactions? The reactions that I cannot avoid, alright, what can I do? Those I'll take. But why take reactions I don't have to take? So in this way, I was still a devotee, even although I was definitely taking a few reactions. What to do? So, like this, it is, a devotee is bhavagraha. Bhavagraha means one who has tasted, he's tasted the nectar, he's tasted something, and then he takes this, he just stays there in that taste, cannot leave it. That's Om Jnana Timirandasya, when the eyes are opened. So, I don't know how we are all going back to the spiritual world. That I don't know. It may not be a straight path, but somehow or other we stay connected. And then that fructifies. It's that faith that grows. My story about the painter in Mayapur, the old man who had a beret like that. He had a little beard, sort of. And as soon as I saw him, I thought, looks like a painter, like Salvador Dali's brother or something like that. And, so...
And but I saw him in the temple in Mayapur, and he was chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting for hours and hours and hours. He was just chanting, and he was there in every arti in the temple, jumping up and down. After a few days, I began to notice it. Usually when I'm in Mayapur, I get up very early, and I was also then getting up early. And then he was up before me. And that's early, right? So I said, gosh, And every day it was like that. And, he was up really early, and then you saw him chanting throughout the day. You saw him chanting. He was in every arti, chanting and dancing. And finally I started thinking, who is this? One day I asked him, I said, who are you? Are you a demigod? So you always read in the books that the demigods are coming, in disguise. Right? I thought, maybe he was in disguise. I asked him, are you a demigod? He said, maybe. Still I didn't know, It took a long time to understand who he was. But then, one day, he had made a cartoon for me. He made a cartoon. A cartoon, you know what a cartoon is?
Zeichentrick?
Cartoon. You know what a cartoon is? He made a cartoon which told the story. And basically the story was that, and I lost that cartoon unfortunately, but anyway the cartoon told the story of a man who in 1967 in San Francisco, he saw, it says, I saw that old man and his disciples. And I saw how enthusiastic they were, and I saw how he completely captured them. So I kept a safe distance. I kept a safe distance. Well, not safe enough. Not distant enough. Because although he kept a distance and never actually came close to Prabhupada, and only looked at the devotees from a distance, he developed faith. He developed faith. Because nobody can chant so many rounds if you don't have faith. How can you chant the whole day? And how can you get up so early unless you have faith? Impossible. Impossible. It's not easy to do that every day. You try. You have to believe in it. You have to have faith. Otherwise you can't do that. So I could understand. That's why I asked him, are you a demigod? I said, where does he get this faith? Who is he? Is he some old devotee? And he was. Because he had that faith. Since 1967 he had faith in Prabhupada. And it had actually matured in him. Because all these years, I don't know what he did with his life since 1967. I have no idea. Maybe he didn't practice devotional service that much. But internally he had faith in Prabhupada. And internally always remembered Prabhupada. And there's that meditation alone. That meditation matured in him. Even if the practice wasn't so deep, the meditation matured. And as a result, the faith still grew deeper. It added on over all these years of meditating on Prabhupada. And as a result, he had that determination that he could chant so many rounds. Because you tried to have that determination. And it's not easy. The mind wants some sense gratification. Maybe we should go to the restaurant, have a drink. It's very thirsty. Maybe we should have one of those pizzas. Very hungry. Oh, you're starved. Maybe have some sweets. Need some sugar. Feel dizzy from the heat. Some sugar will pep me up. But to have that determination to just chant and chant and chant doesn't mean one is free from lust, but it means one has very deep faith. So he had deep faith. So that was very nice. And that sort of gave me a real insight when I saw him. I was really thinking. But then I start thinking about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's statement, who said that if someone is taking to this process of Krishna consciousness, even if he deviates from the process and so on, generally speaking, it's still successful. Because see, the inner meditation continues. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur also discusses this topic in his Bhagavad Gita commentary in verse 931, the purport to 931 or 30, I think it's 31. And he is explaining there that because one is always fixed, one's faith is still there. Faith in Krishna. Therefore, one carries on somehow internally. Sadhureva samantavya, still saintly. So it's very nice, Krishna consciousness. I began with Chaitanya, I began with some verse, then I went to Chaitanya Bhagavata. Then it was all pure love of God, and then I thought, oh, this is too high. I thought I'll go first to Krishna, and then I thought, what will I say about Krishna? I'll start with some Vrindavan pastimes. That's too high. We are not there. Then I thought, okay, let me go with Lord Chaitanya. Then I thought, oh, we're not there. At least not in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in such ecstasies. But just that faith, is our saving grace. And so, then we can go to ISKCON, to our own spiritual life, the Hare Krishna life, and see so many devotees who have sort of found their own way. I like that in a way. The last words of Saint Francis of Assisi are that, if we summarize them, the message is this, not verbatim, but the message is, I gave you everything, now find your own way. And it's a bit like that. Krishna consciousness is also like that. You get everything, but now you have to find a way to live with it. And you can live with it, and everyone has to live in his own way. And it cannot just be external, a set of rules. For some people it's a set of rules, but that's not enough. Then we never get to the heart. That's Vaidhi Bhakti. If it's only the heart and no rules, then the heart is not pure. So what to do? So somewhere we have to find a way. If we want to be devotees for our whole life, we have to find a way. Otherwise, whole life is not going to happen. Otherwise, after a while, you get sort of dissatisfied. You see, it's easy in the beginning. You put on super saffron cloth, right? But then, day in day out, saffron. Everything is saffron. And it's like very basic. It's hard to just maintain that unless we are doing things from the heart. And the heart means we have to do it we have to do something that we love. We have to find something that we love in Krishna consciousness. It cannot just be, I believe it's good because I read the books and I found them very convincing, actually. The arguments were very deep and profound, and I found them really convincing. That's not enough. Intellect is in a way very important in the preliminary stage, when the faith is not so deep. Then we need to investigate. But after we've investigated, then at one point the heart becomes more important. And we have to start doing something we love to do for Krishna, to find something. And that's individual. It's like for me, I have to sing in this guru from Australia. There are different gurus, right? There's a Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru, Checha Guru. Diksha Guru is the initiating spiritual master. Siksha Guru is the instructing spiritual master. Checha Guru is Krishna, is the Guru in the heart. And then there's an Australian Guru. And they jump, They're known as kangaroos. Saw it coming in. Yeah? So. No, but you got to find something to do for Krishna that suits your whatever that you love to do. And, he loves to jump. Like I like to sing. Someday we have to more and more develop that. Something we love to do for Krishna. There's also duty, doing our duty for Krishna. And whatever Krishna needs to be done, doing the needful, that's also there. Certainly we do the needful for Krishna. Sometimes, that was Jagadish Prabhu who said 90% does 10% of the work and 10% does 90% of the work. Yeah. So the 10% that's doing the needful is certainly very important. But even if you always do the needful, you become dry. You need to sometimes do what you love for Krishna. That becomes the most exciting. To do something that you love for Krishna. We know that story of a devotee. There was a devotee in Vrindavan, and a humble devotee. He was just sweeping the temple courtyard. His name was Krishnadas. And there was another devotee, and he was not so simple. He was a king. He was the king of Jaipur. So, the king of Jaipur, he had gone to Vrindavan, to the temple of Govinda ji, and he had come there, and he had taken darshan, and he was very, very, very happy. Then one day, or one night rather, the king had a dream. And in the dream, the deity came. And the deity gave him a plate of Mahaprasada. And he said, "Oh, this is so tasty. This is so nice. This has been cooked by my devotee Krishnadas. You must take it." Then the king in the dream received the plate, right? And he ate that Mahaprasadam. And what he tasted, it was exquisite. He had never tasted anything quite like that. So then the king, after that, said, "Oh, I have to go to Vrindavan, I have to meet this Krishnadas." So he went to the temple, and Krishnadas couldn't find any Krishnadas. He said, "Someone cooking Krishnadas?" "No, don't know about anybody. Krishnadas cooking." "No idea." The devotee said, "No." Then the king said, "No, but must be. Is there any Krishnadas?" "Well, there's only this Krishnadas. He's sweeping the courtyard." bring that Krishna Das. So they brought that Krishna Das to the king. And the king said that, oh, I know that you are cooking for the Lord. And then after pressurizing him, it came out that although Krishna Das had been sweeping, he had been cooking in his mind. All this time, he had been cooking in his mind for the Lord. And that had pleased the Lord so much that finally the Lord made an arrangement. Then the king said, and I want that he will cook. Because the king said, he could not refuse. And therefore, in this way, Krishna Das became the cook of the deities. It's old. I remember the story, but I don't know exactly where I got it from. But anyway, but it is very nice because it really shows that even although he was sweeping the courtyard, that still internally he loved to do something else. He loved to do something for Krishna. And you have to find something that you love to do for Krishna, and then do it. Then do it. Now, if you want to do something that you think about and you really like to do, like I had this idea. I wanted to go with a group of devotees to Govardhan, and I thought we'll all take a Shila from Govardhan Hill, and we just start drawing faces on the stone. We do bathing proper and oil and everything, and then we just did a full puja there. And everyone had his own Shila, and then at the end we had a whole bunch of Shila on a large slab of Govardhan. And it was lots of fun, actually. It was really, that was something I've been thinking about for a long time. I'd like to do that one time. And then I did it. It was exciting. I have another idea that I want to make like a very big, like a huge boulder of Govinda. And just do a huge turban on there. Many meters of cloth and everything. It's like the whole thing. I'm going to do that one of these days. So if you're in the neighborhood and we're going to do it, so you got to do something like that. Something exciting, something you love to do in devotional service. And that's what you see in these associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like look at Madhu Pandit. Madhu Pandit, he had a jacket made of little tulsi beads and a head of tulsi beads, right? I mean, he was eccentric. He was an individual. He did what he loved. He was not just a devotee who was like, who was stereotype. No, he was thinking, I need the mercy of Tulsi when I'm chanting japa. I really need that mercy. So then whenever he was doing his japa, he put on his Tulsi jacket, his Tulsi hat. Very small, it's very fine. Isn't that sort of... Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a personality, someone who is following his heart. He's like not just really living close to the heart. Of course, there was also discipline. Srinivasa Acharya was strict about Ekadasi. They had to stay up the whole night. And there's a group of male devotees, and what he did is he just tied all the sikas with strings to the roof. So everyone was sitting like that, and the sika tied to the roof, chanting. And they chanted the whole night. But it also shows what a desire to chant the whole night when you do it that way. Such eagerness. We can try such a party. Everyone tie some hair and a string to the seal and just chant. Must be painful when he goes off. Yeah. It's interesting. All these personalities. Any questions or comments? It wasn't a very official talk. It wasn't in an official mood. It's sort of in the living room type of talk. No questions, then we do a little more kirtan, that's the rule.